Hi, you guys. Welcome back to my channel. Well, it's not really even a channel. It's more like a personal diary. So we are winding down with um our what is it? Our fourth term? Yeah, because we're not in trimesters. I'm not in a trimester system. So we are wrapping up. Nope, I'm lying. We're wrapping up fall term. God, I'm too far. I'm too much. So we're wrapping up fall term. Of course, I'm in my bag. No, I'm just playing. But no, my classes have been pretty smooth. I get to choose my classes. Obviously, you get to choose your classes. So I've decided to take a lot of the easier ones, kind of like to get started getting back into school because it's been 10 years. Last time I tried to do this, I was fighting my case in 2015. So no. But winter, I'm pushing myself to do full credit, like 12 credits, like full time. So I'm going from 9 credits to 11 credits. Obviously 12 is full time, 11 is full time, and 10 is like 3 quarters. And so for winter, I have algebra 2, communications, and psych 237, which is human development. So y'all know I've already done psych 201 in spring, and then I'm doing psych 202 now because you have to pass 201 to get to 202, and then you have to pass 202 to even get further into 200, 300, 400 level college psychology. So as of now, I have a 3.8. My GPA went down a little bit for attendance. Well, it hasn't went down yet, but I'm pretty sure it's going to go down just because yeah, fall was kind of rough. Like I got sick and it was just a lot going on with the weather changes and stuff. Um so winter term it's probably not going to be any different. But my communications class is online, so that's not too bad. I still have to go in for math and psych. So the like I feel like I have to push myself because I don't necessarily I don't know how to say this without like sounding weird, but okay, so the bachelor's of social work program is like super like limited. It's hard to get into because everybody wants to be a social worker and they only have so many slots. Well, I'm part of TRIO, which is like first generation college students and stuff because my parents didn't graduate. So that's gonna help me get into university, like when I transfer my degree a little easier. And hopefully, um, having my professor instructor now for the second term, she'll be able to write me a letter of recommendation for the program. I also was told that I could because a lot of the classes for the what is it? It's like it's not LCSW. That's actually what a social worker is. But a lot of, oh, it's the Child, Youth, and Family Services degree. So like case management, people that work as guidance counselors. With that degree, I'll be able to get into the master's program a lot easier, and then I could get my master's of social work. So people that don't get into the bachelor's of social work program or don't necessarily want to do the full term, like the full time part of it, like the 12 hours for 2 years. I mean, yeah, 12 credits for 2 years. They'll do the child, youth, and family services degree, get the bachelor's, and then use that to get into the master's program. So I don't even know what I want to do, honestly. I really love psychology. Y'all know that. Um, it's the same amount of time to become a licensed clinical social worker and a licensed clinical psychologist. So I don't know. I really don't know what I want to do. I'm kind of hoping that I'll figure that out like in the next 2 years or so, so that when I get to university, I'll be able to either keep my degree or transfer over. I feel so also I've heard that people have done the child and family youth degree for the bachelor's, got to university and then changed their major. So if you change your major, um so I'll be stepping into junior year. So I would have to do it as soon as I transfer over. Like as soon as I get accepted into university, I'd have to change my major. And then hopefully with me being accepted in the university, I'll have first dibs on getting into the program because I'm already at the school, as opposed to trying to get in to the BSW program not being at the school yet. So I don't know. I've been talking to my advisor about it, and right now I'm just focusing on knocking out the prerequisites, and we'll see where we go from there. I figure once I knock out the prerequisites and core classes, the rest of it will, like that last 2 years, will be focusing directly on the degree. So my graduation date is so now that I know that I don't have to take 2 years of language, I've opted not to take Spanish. I don't know. I'll probably end up doing it later on or something. I don't know. But I need three math classes. You either take 2 years of Spanish, 2 years of whatever language, or three math classes. Why the fuck would anybody take 2 years of language when you can take three math classes? Like that's out of control. So because like our terms are like 12, 14 weeks or something, like 12 weeks or something. And so you're going to take fall, spring, summer, or fall, winter, spring, and summer for 2 years, as opposed to just taking three math classes, fall, winter, and then spring. So my first math class starts winter term. I don't really understand why we need to know algebra as social workers or psychologists. Like, why do we need to know math to tell you that you have a generalized anxiety disorder? Like most of it is reading the DSM-5 anyway, and going off of like, are you depressed for 30 days out of the month? Are you having a hard time 4 or more days out of the week getting out of bed? Do you feel suicide? Like, I don't need to know math for that. I don't. So that part is kind of annoying to me, but you know, you have to do what you have to do. So that's what I've been doing. Really just trying to get my graduation plan in order. Um, and look at some, like, I don't know, not really look at, but the options that I have is Portland State University, University of Oregon, go Ducks, of course, and then OSU, which is Oregon State University, which is the Beavers. You have University of Oregon and then Oregon State University. Then you have Portland State University, which is like crazy closer to me. So I don't even know how I would even get into, like, I can get into U of O, but I don't even know why anybody would, unless you're going to live on campus, and I have my own house, so I'm not going to do that. Um so I'll probably just stick to being at home. I think I'm most concerned with the trajectory of the job outlook. I've seen so many people be wired and want to do computer engineering, computer software engineering, software coding and development, app development, and now they are being shut out of their jobs. They're being fired. Like, you used to think that, hey, I have a degree, I got like $100,000 in student loan. And then you have these weird ass people that are like, oh, just go get a trade. Shut up. Don't nobody like not everybody wants to work blue collar labor all their fucking life. No, I don't want to be a damn oil technician. No, I don't want to be a repairman. I don't want to be an electrician. I don't want to work on power poles. I don't want to work for the city. I don't want to be a truck driver. I'm 5'3", 125 pounds. I don't want to do manual labor. I just don't. So I rather, when you get stressed out and your wife leaves you and then you have to go to therapy, they'll call me, or be like the caseworker, like the social worker that comes in, when bitch get tired of you and you work too much and you're not making enough money, or all this stuff happen, they'll call me. That's what I want. I want to sit at a desk, a solid oak desk in a chair with my cardigan on and my glasses and a notepad and a pencil and ask you, how are you feeling today? That's all I want to do. That's all I want to do. Or I want to drive around and do home checks on people and not make them feel like crap because their house is dirty, and like, ask them how can they be a better parent as opposed to just snatching their kids out of their house. Like, that's what I want to do. And I keep running into my old probation officer at the store. Like, I seen her at Fred Meyer's and she keeps asking me how I'm doing in school, and I keep telling her, like, she's older, so she forgot that I had already told her I was going into social work. And off top, she was like, oh yeah, you'll be good at that. I'm coming from the perspective of being in foster care myself, so I'm already kind of looking out for red flags of kids that are being abused. They're not going to say that something is wrong in the foster home, but when you start getting calls from the teacher that they're falling asleep at school, that they're having fights at school, that they're having tantrums and outbursts at school, it's not just that they're a bad kid, they're probably in a bad environment. And we need to see how to better help them as opposed to just moving them to another foster home. But they're not ready for me. I don't, I personally do not think, just like everybody kind of thinks that they can go into psychology, go into medicine, I'm going to save the world. I'm going to revolutionize it. Girl, we are going to get these kids out of foster care, and we're going to change this school to prison pipeline, honey, by any means necessary. And then you realize that you're the only motherfucking person fighting for these kids. Everybody else is overworked and tired. How the fuck are you supposed to give about kids when you have to work 10 hours a day, and every time you tell your supervisor that, hey, this kid needs more support, they tell you they don't have the funding for it. Like, I've seen it on the other side because I've spent nights at the DHS office watching my caseworker find me a place to go. And then when you're a kid that's high risk or fighting, there's not very many foster homes for you to go to. So then where do you go? You go to a children's group home, or you go to juvenile lockup facilities. A lot of kids that are in juvenile lockup are not there necessarily because they're violent, dangerous criminals. They're there because there weren't any foster homes for them to go to, or they've been abused in all of them. So they've cycled through so many foster homes and group homes that there's nowhere else for them to go. So they'll send them to McLaren, or what other juvenile like facility. A lot of those juvenile facilities are filled up with kids that have cycled through foster care, and all they needed was a fucking adult that they could depend on. It's not that they're violent. It's because that was not my situation. I wasn't fighting teachers, I was fighting other kids. So I feel like my perspective is a little different, but it's kind of overwhelming to see that I'm not going to get any help helping these kids. Everybody goes into social work thinking that they're going to be able to save the system, save the world, but you can't save the world unless the world wants to be saved. And because of all the bureaucracy and like paperwork and just redlining and different things that happen. If you have a county that doesn't get enough money, the social services are going to be not there. They're just not going to be, I know there's a better word for that. They're going to be obsolete, inoperative, whatever you want to call it. But at the end of the day, that's why you notice in wealthier neighborhoods, they don't have very many juvenile homes. They don't have very many DHS centers. They don't have fucked up sidewalks. They don't have fucked up streets. They don't have raggedy schools with rotten books that are tearing out the frame. They don't have a whole bunch of raggedy school buses. The police have brand new cars. Everybody got brand new cars. Everybody. So like we have to think about when those of us are in school and we're looking to better our environment and better our world, it takes money. So if you're trafficking all of the money into an escrow account in the Cayman Islands somewhere for the top 1%, girl, how's we supposed to help anybody? We ain't got the funds. I've literally had my social worker when I was in foster care buy me food out of her pocket because the city didn't give enough. They have a that's why they have to write down the mileage of where they go. When they get into the state vehicle, they have to write down the mileage. When they leave from all the case studies and all the places that they have to do check-ins, they have to write down the mileage. They only pay for what they need to pay for. So if you had to go to the bathroom or you went out of the way an extra 50 miles or something because you wanted to go sightsee or check on a kid, or just make sure that you had a bad feeling and you wanted to go check on this kid somewhere, they might take that about your paycheck because you was only supposed to be going 75 miles, but you went 100 miles because you wanted to check on a kid or go to the bathroom or something. It's almost like a weird similarity to like the Amazon drivers where they can't even pee. They can't even go stop and pee. They can't. You don't see state cars parked at the McDonald's just chilling, just taking a break. Like you're driving from 8 a.m. and don't be on call. Don't be entry level, like, getting out of college like me and then go think you're finna work for DHS, honey, and think you're finna have a 9 to 5. That's not a thing. You will be bringing that pager home. You will be bringing that car and the cell phone home with you. And if they call you at 2 a.m. because there was a fire or something happened and they found some kids uh outside and they gonna call you. If you get a call in the middle of the night from one of your kids, because I had a caseworker that gave me her number, her emergency number, and her personal number. So if something really hit the fan, I was able to call her on her personal number on a weekend, on a Saturday, on a Friday night, on a Sunday morning. And it was not easy like a Sunday morning. So like it's intimidating thinking about, damn, all this work to learn how to treat these kids, all the experience that I've had being in foster care for 6 years, getting through it, getting abused, watching the lady who abused us go to prison for 10 years, getting an apology from the governor and the head of DHS in Oregon, and then turning around and wanting to work for them. I feel like I'm slapping my younger self in the face. I told myself I would never, bitch. Y'all had me as a client. Y'all had me all up in the case files and stuff. And then I wanted to act like I was a bad kid, and all I needed was just an adult to listen to me. And now I'm over here trying to work for y'all. I don't know. I did change my major though. Like it was a toss up between education and social work. Now it's a toss up between education, social work, and psychology. They all take 6 years. They all take a master's degree. So it really wouldn't matter. It's more so about what I'm gonna be happy doing. I don't want to be a teacher. I realize that now. That's not the move. Because if your kids put your hands on me, that'll be my last day working in that school district. I promise you that. Um, and I feel like there's good and bad things for every degree. I hate the people that, well, I don't hate them, but I hate how misinformed a lot of people seem to be when they sit up and just say, "Oh, well, I don't know why you're spending all this extra money anyway. I don't know. Oh, just start your own business." Like, not everybody is an entrepreneur. Not everybody's an entrepreneur. Even if the world was to collapse and we had to go back to a prehistoric time or something, you would still need somebody to ask you, "How are you feeling today? Are you managing your stress well?" Like, you're always going to need psychologists. And the thing that I'm learning in psychology is that it's not just taking patients or something. Yeah, you could work in the mental health field, but they also have industrial organizational psychology. Ergonomic mouse keypads and ergonomic keyboards and curved computer monitors and stuff. Those are all made by industrial organizational psychologists. They think about how do you get the max productivity from a person without draining them dry. So that's the reason why you have the supervisor working on the floor when you work in, an assembly line or something. It helps to see your supervisor doing the same work that you're doing so that they don't give off the feeling that they're better than you. Everybody does the same job, everybody has to do this. And so it gives a sense of camaraderie. It's no different than why they have fluorescent light bulbs in the hospitals. If you give a warmer light, a more yellow light, it's going to make people tired. If you have a cooler light bulb that mimics daylight, like the spectrum of daytime or like high noon, then that's going to make people more productive, as opposed to having a warmer light spectrum, which is early evening, late evening, the orange tones, the yellow tones. That's why ring lights have different light spectrums. All of that is organizational industrial psychology. Then they freaking have psychologists in sports medicine. They literally, like, I didn't even know that. I didn't know that there were so many different aspects of it, that how, like, I don't know, like a early childhood psychologist or something, like, how do you best get kids ready for the real world psychologically? How can you institute psychology into your parenting? How can What psychology is it for someone to have a religion or to believe in God? How does that relate? I've been looking a lot into that recently too. What is the difference? I've been finding God in a lot of science and math and stuff lately. And especially with like the stress management part of psychology, human development that we just did, it was interesting to see how a lot of the techniques that psychologists say help stress management are the same things that people do when they pray or when they worship God. When you worship and when you pray, it gives off the same endorphins and dopamine and serotonin that, some of these pharmaceutical drugs can give. And in a certain setting, if you're praying and speaking in tongues, they might call you crazy. But if you're doing it in church, it's normal. That same feeling or hormone release you can get from certain medications. So how do we, de-stress ourselves without having to take pills? I am interested in that, like, honestly, like the psychology of being a Christian and how to implement it in your everyday life. Like, what does that look like? Because a lot of the similarities are in cognitive behavioral therapy. When you look at the fruit of the spirit, having peace and self-control and patience and long suffering, a lot of that is just thinking about how you think. The power of the tongue, there's so many things that correlate to the word of God and psychology. So it's been fun to see the correlation in why do we pray. Why do we fast? Why do we speak in tongues? What is edification? The same way that someone speaking in tongues can edify you gives the same hormonal release as dopamine, serotonin, or other Prozac and stuff like that. That is peace. But some people take pills to get peace, and some people pray to get peace. Some people exercise to get peace, and some people speak in tongues to get peace. And so I kind of like, I'm sure that there are like old white people some fucking where that have done the research, but I would love to see the physiological difference between someone fasting for 7 days or 3 days, between someone doing like a marathon or meditation, something like that. Like something that kind of matches up, but to see, I'm pretty sure there would be similarities in the brain chemistry if you did a scan or something on the brain. Research. That's a whole side of it. Girl, you don't have to go in there. Oh, how are you feeling today? Oh, you're depressed. No, we're going to do studies. We're going to do case studies. We're going to take like 1,000 Christians and 1,000 people that exercise. And then people are going to pray for an hour. And then they're going to work out for an hour. And then we're going to test their brain to see if there's any type of similarities with the functions. So then it could better help other newer Christians realize that the same peace that God gives you during praying, people are looking for when they exercise, but you can get it by praying. And this is what it looks like in the brain. Like, I don't know. I really feel like I feel crazy. But then again, a few people were telling me that if I just stick with it, I'll be able, like, not I'll be able to, but I'll be one of the ones to be able to prove a physical scientific change when it comes to prayer and fasting and meditation and hearing the word of God, something like that. Like, I would really love to do scientific studies on that and write books about how prayer and how using your armor for God and the fruit of the spirit shows up in the brain and in the body. Like when you pray, you are calm. You're sitting there, you have all your distractions off, your TV's off. The only thing you have is your Bible, and you're just sitting there meditating on the word. That in itself is going to lower your heart rate, which is going to make you less at risk for a heart attack. That is part of the fruit of the spirit: self-control, patience, long suffering. So when you get upset, they'll tell you to deep breathe and, do all these things. Just pray. But people don't want to hear that because it sounds crazy. I'm just pray. I'm mad right now. Okay, well, the same, you would have to do the same thing for deep breathing. You would have to do the same thing if you were exercising. I don't know. I feel like I'm the type of person that it helped me to be able to see a lot of what we do on a day-to-day basis as believers in God. How does it translate in everyday life? And Psychology 202 has been the starting point of that. And once I started, like, that was back in September, I really started looking at that. Then I started looking it up. And there's actual psychologists and PhDs and all types of like really, really, really smart people that went to school way longer than I have that have done scientific studies on the brain. And it's fascinating to me. You have archaeologists and geologists and people like that study, the biblical history of the Bible, to go see where the Red Sea split, or to go see, the Via della Rosa where Jesus had to carry his crucifix. I want to be one of the people that do studies on the power of prayer and the power of the tongue, and literally see how, like, watch people speaking bad to their self and how that changes the brain, and then see people praying, and if it can heal the brain, if it changes any of the structures or blood flow or anything like that. I don't necessarily know if I'm gonna even make it. I don't even know if I'm gonna make it that far. But we will see. Um, so yeah, I'm excited for a lot of the things that I'm doing. And I don't know. I'm looking at something. But I definitely feel like there should be more research, because a lot of people have a hard time believing in God because there's no history of God. Oh, we found 40 million year old dinosaur bones, but you can't find the bones of Jesus. You do realize that there were way more fucking dinosaurs than there was one man, Jesus. So, of course, you're going to be able to find way more dinosaur bones than one fucking man 2,000 years ago. There's a bunch of slaves and ancestors that we know and heard about, but we can't find their bones either. That doesn't mean that they weren't real. Like, I mean, we really have to stop um thinking that science is going to crack the code for the Bible, because honestly, for me, the word of God fills in a lot of the blanks for what science can't do. I'm not going to be able to prove scientifically that the power of prayer does the same thing as a Prozac or a Xanax. But there are people that have said once they prayed and they prayed for a long time, their body started vibrating. They started feeling euphoric. They were speaking in an unknown language. Now, some people would call that delirium or delusion or listeria, not listeria, hysteria or psychosis or something. But I think for there's going to be a lot of people that are going to, I personally feel like the way that my brain is set up, I'm going to be one of the ones to prove how prayer and different things that we do as our armor can help our bodies physiologically and psychologically. And I've always had the thought of being a faith based psychologist. So I don't know. I don't know. I think if I actually get through everything and get my psychology degree, I would consider being a faith based psychologist and then going into clinical research when it comes to um treatment. I don't necessarily think that people need pills to feel better. Now, I don't know how that's going to work over well with the liberal society that I live in. Because to go around and just be like, oh, you don't need pills, you just need God. Child, they're not going to take that. They don't want that. But I do think it's interesting. And I feel like the more people, I feel like the more that I look into it, the more that I pray about it, I'm sure that God will give me some type of understanding on what I should be researching and um how I could turn that into something that helps other people, because I personally feel like God has helped me have a renewing of my mind, and it's now changed how I approach a lot of things. You know, I still have days where I'm angry and all of that, but I feel like I deal with them a lot better. Um, and right now, I'm just focused on finding my purpose and making sure that God gets the glory out of everything. I don't want to do all this work just for people to be like, oh, you revolutionized faith based psychology and treatment and made it make sense. for a lot of the new age people that, oh, I would just want to be a nature person. You can love nature and love God too. Like, that's what being thankful is. Like, you can go to a tree and be like, thank God for these trees, thank God for these, but to like, I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of people that are going to need that, but I also worry that, I don't know, if it's not received, or like it's too niche or too out of the box. But there are other people that have done lectures on God and the brain. Like, there's a bunch of people that have done it. And when you look at, like, is it Theoretical Society, or like theology, the study of Jesus, I I feel like they go into depth with like bibliography, geography, Hebrew, Greek, and Abrahamic religion, Arabic. I don't know what they call that, but they go into depth with that, and I kind of more so want to see the impact. Like, I don't know. It would be nice to find people that don't know God and take a picture of their brain, and then take a picture of people's brain that have found God less than a year, and then take a picture of people's brains that have found God 5 years in and 10 years in, and see if there really is a physiological, like, not a biological, but a physiological difference with their their brain makeup. Do people that, well, yeah, we were going through it in stress, for psychology. It was a data that talked about people that had a higher power tend to have 2 times less risk of heart attack than people who were non-believers, because they let go and let God. When you let go and let God, you're not taking on that stress, so you're not going to be anxious about something happening or this or that, because you literally let go and let God, as opposed to a person who didn't believe in God, so they just held on to all that stress. That is what kind of made me perk my ears up a little bit, like, oh, really? So there is data. There's data on that. Um Obviously there's a lot of factors that go into, like, the data being obscured, or swayed a little bit. You have environment, you have childhood stuff, you have a sense of community. um Most of the time, people that do believe in God have some type of prayer group or church or something that they go to. So having those external um community partnerships can help your mental health. So then it could look like, well, is it God, or is it just people having a group of people around them? But there's a lot of times where you'll be in a group and still feel alone. So I don't know. I feel like with a lot of people being so wrapped up in scientific evidence and stuff like that, I would love to see more studies and clinical research be done with believers, and seeing, okay, when you first found God, what did your brain look like? When you found God and it was 3 years later, what does your brain look like now? Okay, it's 5 years later. What is your brain going to look like now? Now, obviously, no fucking federal program is going to pay for a clinical research study on Christian believers if their mental health or if their brain is better by them having God in their life. There's no funding for shit like that. And that also is kind of irritating. Um, because they'll fund, research on medications and all this, but why wouldn't you want to fund something that's, you don't need a pill, all you need is the Bible and faith? And I mean, obviously, it's the bottom line of the pharmaceutical companies. Pharmaceutical companies lobby a lot for the clinical research trials, and they are the ones that are pumping money into it, which I don't really know how you can do that and it not be biased. Um, because if you're the one paying for the clinical study, of course, your study results are going to say that your product is good. So I don't really necessarily trust that. um I feel like in my situation, and obviously I'm just one person, one little study, but in my situation, I'm a person that used to be on antidepressants, and after I got off of them in early 2023, I decided that I wasn't going to take them again. And it wasn't until this year that I actually started taking my walk with God seriously. But I've noticed a decrease in my mood fluctuating as rapidly. I've noticed a decrease in the length of time of my depression episodes. Normally, so like a few things had happened earlier, like not early, but like it was a few things that happened this year, and they have happened before, and I have crashed the fuck out. Um, there was one thing that really just like it would have sent anybody over the edge, but for some reason I was okay. And I don't know if that's just because I'm getting older and I'm realizing that, you know, I'm just not as young anymore, and my emotions are becoming more stable, or is it really just God? I choose to believe that it's God. Hi, Wes Adams. So that's just really what I've been doing. I think it's fascinating to look at the research on the studies of the brain when it comes to believers and non-believers, the study of mental health treatments when it comes to believers and non-believers. That's not to say that you don't, some people don't ever need medication. Some people do have severe enough mental health disorders where they need medication, and with the medication it calms their brain down enough so that they can have a relationship with God. Once they get their relationship with God, they can then taper themselves off of that medication and rely solely on God instead of medication. Because if the grid goes down now, you're not going to get your pills from the pharmacy. And that goes for diabetes medicine. I don't know what people are going to do if we have a grid down situation. Not only are you not going to get any more diabetes insulin, but the insulin in the refrigerators now has a risk of going bad because it has to be refrigerated. So a lot of people don't even have a backup plan for their insulin that they're on now, let alone have a backup plan for if the whole entire ecosystem goes down and they can't ship the insulin to the pharmacies. If the grid goes down and the pharmacy cannot store the insulin, they're not going to order any, and you're not going to get your insulin. So then it ends up being a situation where you have 40 million people that are insulin dependent, and there's an electrical grid down situation. Now, a lot of these people are going to die because they cannot store their insulin. And most of the diabetes is type 2. Most of it is from uncontrolled weight and overeating. I think when I last looked, it was like 15 or 20% of the diabetic population was type 1, where they were like born with it, or they had like a a a physical issue where they could not process insulin. They were insulin resistant naturally. They were born like that. Most of the diabetic people in the world are on diabetes because of human error. Like they, and it sucks to say, but it's like they gave themselves diabetes. It just is what it is. So then now And so that's where a lot of industrial psychology comes in at. And when you have, that is why it is so important to vote the right motherfucking people into office. If you have somebody heading the CDC that doesn't give a fuck about any of this shit, oh, we're gonna get out of the Paris Climate Accord. Okay. All right. Well, then don't do anything for emissions. Don't do anything for greenhouse gases. Don't try to save the grid. Don't do anything. And then when the grid goes down, like it did in Texas, and all them people was out of electricity for 4 or 5 days, what happened to a lot of insulin? There were 300 people that died because their insulin went bad and they had no insulin. They died. So then we have to start thinking about like long-term effects. Like, okay, why are you overeating to the point where you gave yourself insulin and you're borderline diabetic? Now we need to start thinking about mitigating the problem before it actually becomes an illness. But of course, the doctors and the healthcare industry would never do that, because if you mitigated a problem before it came an illness, there would be no reason to go see them. So then they would lose money. If there's no reason to go see them, why would Medicaid give them a payout if you don't need to go see them? That's why a lot of people was, oh, we need healthcare. The healthcare, they're all talking because they get a kickback from that shit. So at the end of the day, it comes back to using natural things to help situations not get worse. And that was the whole reason why I started looking at faith and stress, and how when I seen that study that talked about Christian believers or people that have a higher power are twice less likely to have a heart attack than non-believers, that really made me think about some things like, okay, what about believing in God? I don't talk about them other religions, child, because them ain't my gods. But what about having a higher power make somebody healthier in the sense that their heart is not going to go into AFib, or they're not going to have a heart attack as fast as somebody who doesn't have a believer? And it's prayer and knowing that there is something bigger than you that is going to work out the issues in your life. And the stress that we have, we let go and let God. So I don't know, it's really fascinating to see. I don't even know if that's a thing. Obviously they did the study, but I don't know. I feel like I really want to find um my purpose and be able to give God the glory at the same time. So I'm trying to find things that I like to do. Like I love psychology, I love social work, and I love teaching. So how in those three career paths, and I could have two of them because I could get a bachelor's in social work and then go get the master's. And then a lot of the stuff for social work intertwines into a psychology degree. So it really would just be another master's for psychology. You could get a bachelor's in fucking arts and still get into the master's program. That's what people don't realize. You could get a bachelor's in anything and then go get your master's in whatever specified degree you want to get. So, I don't know. I think there's a lot to think about when it comes to career paths and just things like that. So, I'm thinking about it. And hopefully, I know that God will give me a sign, or, let me know something about what I need to be doing with my life. But I'm really leaning towards clinical research. Is I just don't know. I just don't see how that's going to be lucrative. Like, I don't think it's going to be lucrative, but I think that with the degree, I'll be able to do lectures, I'll be able to write books, I'll be able to go speak at high schools, I'll be able to have like groups and, go into churches and talk to them, like do a presentation or something at a church and talk about like breaking down the armor of God, breaking down the fruit of the spirit and how it relates to psychology and cognitive behavioral therapy and the similarities and the dual treatment plans. Deep breathing, people get so psyched out or just overwhelmed when they hear, oh, we have to meditate, oh, you have to deep breathe. Deep breathing could literally just be like, thank you, Jesus. Ooh, thank you, Jesus. Like, that is as simple as it gets. But because we're believers, we tend to do that more than people who are non-believers. So that is why the data was talking about the heart attack risk was 2 times less likely for people that had a higher power. Because normally when you have a higher power, you're praying to them, you're talking to them, you're worshiping them. Now, who God they be talking about, we don't know, but I'm talking about Jesus Christ. So there's that. But it was a study for higher powers. It wasn't a study just for Christian believers. Obviously there's other things, that are wrong and stuff like that. Like the divorce rate between believers is higher than it is with the rest of the world and stuff like that. But I feel like a lot of that will go down once people actually start to use their armor the right way psychologically. Like, once people start to realize that, okay, this is a spiritual attack, this is what I need to do, and this is how it can help me in the long run. Not only are you going to help yourself during this physical spiritual attack, but you're going to help your body not wear down when you turn 60 from stressing out so damn much. Let go and let God. But all of my life that I've heard let go and let God, I didn't know. I literally did not know what that meant. It just sounded weird, like let go and let God. Like, I hated when people said that. I just hated it. And now that I'm in psychology and we did the stress management treatment and like that part of the module, it makes complete sense exactly what letting go and letting God is. And that is how you get peace. You can't get peace and still be worried about the situation. You either let go and have peace about it, or you stress about it and you have anxiety. And what is stress and anxiety going to do? It's going to raise your blood pressure. You're going to have a tension headache. You're going to be at more risk for heart attack. Your sleep is going to be bad. And now God doesn't get the glory out of that. You're going to work tired. And now you're treating other people like shit because you're tired because you were worrying all night and you decided not to let go and let God. That is a simple um breakdown of it. So I've been talking a lot about it on TikTok and people have been liking it. So I think I'll keep doing that. But anyways, I don't expect none of you haters to wish me luck on my finals. I haven't needed it this far from y'all, so I'll be straight. Shout out, well, not shout out, but I pray for healing for Chris Go. I don't know what situation y'all got going on over there, but hopefully he's doing okay. Don't smoke nobody's stuff and don't take no drink from nobody that you don't know, not even a baby mama or an auntie or nothing, because everybody a op nowadays. So just bring your own bottle and bring your own weed. Don't drink nothing. If you want to drink, have you a pint of Casamigos in your purse. I do. I took mine. Shit, I don't know what the fuck. Because you can bring alcohol on the plane. I don't want nothing. I'm not going to no bar with I'm not no. I'm going straight to the liquor store and I'm gonna give me a pint of Casamigos. I think it was like 15.99, 19.99 or something. And then go right on up to the bar. Go right on up to the bar, honey, and be like, "Oh, can I get a Red Bull?" And boom, now you got a drink. And you ain't have to spend all that money. And you don't have to worry about nobody spiking your stuff. I mean, well, they could have spiked the Red Bull, but anyway, y'all be safe out here. Watch y'all back. If you know that you're making impact out here, you have to be extra cautious about what you do. Um, you can't just be kicking in and popping into stuff and thinking that, people are not trying to put you in the dirt like they did Dolph. Like when you are in a certain tax bracket and you bring home a certain amount of money every day, and you have certain type of chains on, and you always fly, you got a nice car, you talk shit about it, you have to watch yourself differently. And people have to start thinking about, is their life worth the check? Because you can keep doing videos about all this content, the beef in the city and the this and the that, but is it worth your life? Is it worth every time you go out somewhere, you have to watch your back? Every time you take your kids out, you have to worry about somebody gunning down your car because you talk some shit about some beef in Texas. Like, at a certain point, people who are making a certain amount of money should be investing their money to eventually get off of here and do something different. um Hanging out with, the lower 48, or the lower few, the few of them, cutting them, cutty and them, AK and them, phone them. Hanging out with phone them, it's never helped nobody. Like, every time you hang out with phone them, something gonna happen. And somebody gonna fold you. Like, so I don't, I pray that he pulls through. I pray that there's no decline in his mental health or his brain health or anything like that. I hope he has a speedy recovery. But it's not even, it's way past the point of just watching the people around you. It's about watching where you're at, where you live, where you hang out, what type of cars you buy, what are you wearing when you leave the house. A lot of y'all need to start dressing like you're poor. I don't. Let me not say that, because I was about to say I don't get robbed. Well, let me knock on wood, child. But I'm gonna say I don't think anybody has ever looked at me and been like, "Oh, I'm gonna rob her." Like, first of all, I don't have nothing name brand on. That's one. Two. Um, I look very basic. Like, my hair, just put in a ponytail, stuff like that. And you notice that the real people, like people in the world that have a lot of money, they're not out here wearing gold chains and, Air Force Ones with the strap at the bottom and all of that. Avenger Air Force Ones, Superman Air Force Ones and all of that. They are wearing toe shoes. Would you try to rob or shoot at a person that was wearing toe shoes? Go look up some toe shoes, and then you'll see. Baby, shit. Have you ever seen a person in ballerina slippers get shot? No. It's always a nigga in some forces or some day. I'm sorry, Lord forgive me. It's always a person in some forces, some Timberlands, some Air Max, or some Jordans or something. You don't really see people with no toe shoes getting shot. You don't see people that wear North Face or Columbia getting shot. Now, you do see motherfuckers that be wearing Montclair and Off-White and all the rest of that bullshit. They get, I seen a nigga die in a Balenciaga. I ain't seen nobody get shot in a Tommy Hilfiger. So it just makes me. Have you ever seen a nigga get shot in a Fruit of the Loom shirt or a Champions outfit? Like, I'm sorry, but like, if you dress poor and like, dress where you can, I don't know how to explain it. I don't want to say dress where you came from. Yes, you should enjoy your stuff, but for the days that you want to enjoy your fit, you need to go somewhere where that is fitting. Like, if you're gonna have your chains on and your Air Force Ones and all that, you should probably be, um, down in the business district or something, or at church. I don't know, but like when it comes to going to the coffee shop or the gas station or Makita's Cookies. I wouldn't be going there at all. But anyway, McDonald's, Papados, Fish Connection or the Catfish Connection, girl, um, Sweet Georgia May. Is it Sweet Georgia Pie? Sweet Georgia Brown. Sweet Georgia Brown. Sweet Georgia Brown has some bomb ass food. Oh, that food was so good. Oh my gosh. I want to go back to South Dallas so bad. Oh, South Dallas has some good ass food. And every when I was at Catfish Connection, we was sitting outside. I don't know why they wanted to sit outside and eat. Girl, I was looking around. I'm looking around like, I hope don't nobody know me. I don't know them. They don't know me, girl. I don't know. But just think about what you're doing, what image you're giving off, and if being around these people and all of that is more important than coming back home safe and sound, then that's a choice that people have to make. But as for me and mine, I'm finna look like I'm poor because I am. Like, if you know that at any moment, if you never got this money again the next month, would you still be poor? You probably should dress like that because it only take one slip and fall to not be able to make no more nothing. Clock it. So, anyways, y'all have a good day.